Welcome, fourth graders, to today's episode of Reading Strategies. I'm your host, Miss Pruxma. Today's top strategy is predicting. What is predicting? Predicting is when the readers tell what they think is going to happen in the story, and then as they read more, they go on to confirm or unconfirm their predictions. When should you use predicting? Well, predicting should be used before reading and during reading. Now, a part of predicting is confirming your predictions that you've made. This can be done during the reading process and after. Why would you use predicting? There's a couple reasons. First, it helps you make text connections, and also it helps you become more engaged as a reader. This will boost your comprehension of the story. Now, how will you use predicting and how will you do predicting? Well, first, you can use a couple clues to get good ideas for predictions. First, you can use your background knowledge of things that you've already heard about. You can use this or you've read about and you know. You can use this information to help you create predictions. Second, you can use illustrations in the book, if there are. And finally, you can use clues in the text, clues you know about the characters and about the setting to make some of your predictions. And remember, a part of predicting is to always go back and confirm your predictions. Now we're going to go to Miss Pruxma as she gives us a demonstration of the strategy. Miss Pruxma? Thank you, Katie. Today's story that we're going to use for this strategy is called The Seven Chinese Brothers. Now first, before I begin reading, I'm going to make a couple predictions. Looking at these men all huddled around, I would say they're A, Chinese, see this in the title, and these are probably the brothers, because I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. Now there's a little man down here that is dressed in all these fancy Chinese garments. So I'm going to predict that he's some powerful Chinese leader in the government. So let's take a look. The Seven Chinese Brothers by Margaret Maya. Once upon a time, when Qi Shi Huang was emperor of all of China, 7 remarkable brothers lived together on a beautiful hillside. They walked alike, they talked alike, they even looked so much alike that it was hard to tell one brother from the brother next to him. All the same, each brother had something special about him. Each brother had one amazing power that was all his own. Now, I wonder what these powers are. Maybe they have super strength and invisibility, and they can fly like some other superheroes that I've heard about. Let's see what we find out. First brother's amazing ears could hear a fly sneeze from 100 miles away, while second brother's amazing eyes could look right across the 100 miles and see the fly sitting on the Great Wall of China, sneezing and feeling very sorry for itself. Third brother was a man of unusual strength. He could walk across China in a straight line, lifting up any mountain that got in his way and putting them carefully back behind him. Fourth brother was strong too, for he had bones of iron that wouldn't break, buckle, or bend. Fifth brother had legs that could grow as tall and as thick as tree trunks, while sixth brother never ever became too hot, no matter how hard he worked under the summer sun. As for seventh brother, he was the baby of the family, and all of his 6 older brothers tried to keep him smiling and happy, for he was their youngest brother, and when he was unhappy, he wept great, big, warm, salt tears, and each tear was large enough to drown an entire village. So I made a prediction that these brothers had powers. I said one was strength, invisibility, and could fly. Now I was kind of right on my prediction. There is one with super strength, but not with flying or invisibility. But that's okay, that's a part of predicting. The 7 brothers lived very happily together, and the 7th brother never once had anything to cry about. Now I'm going to pause here and look what's going on in this picture. In this picture, I can see some men working very hard with like a pickaxe trying to break something, and possibly building this big hole in this big structure. Now I'm thinking, my background knowledge is that, first I know the story takes place in China, and something about China is they have the Great Wall of China. Now I've seen a couple pictures of it, and what I've seen in pictures is it's like this. It's like a wall, and then they have these little towers every once in a while along it. So I'm going to predict that this is a hole in the Great Wall of China, and these men are possibly being forced to work to build it because these guards seem to be watching them pretty closely. Let's see what we can find out. But one day as they worked on their hillside, first brother lifted his head with his amazing ears on either side of it and said, "I can hear such a strange moaning and groaning 100 miles away by the Great Wall of China. Second brother, take a look and tell me what the trouble is about." Second brother turned his far-seeing eyes towards the Great Wall. "Ah, ya," he cried, "there is an enormous hole in the Great Wall of China. I see 100 poor men working day and night and day. They look so tired and weak. Perhaps they are not allowed to sleep or eat until the hole in the Great Wall of China is repaired." So in this case, my predictions were correct. This is a hole in the Great Wall of China, and these men are working hard to repair it. I can't bear it," cried the seventh brother, who was always hungry himself. He looked as if he might begin to cry in sympathy with the poor, hard-working men. "Don't cry," said third brother quickly. "I'll go and help them." Off he went as quick as he could, and got there in half a minute, less than no time. He set to work at once, tossing great stones from one hand to the other, as if they were feathers. By the time the darkness came, the hole was completely filled. Then third brother lay down to take a nap. But when the emperor heard that a single man had repaired the hole in one afternoon, he was not at all grateful. Indeed, he looked very worried. "A man as powerful as that is more trouble than he's worth," thought the emperor to himself. "Strong men can be very useful to an emperor, but this one is too strong. One army may not be enough to catch him. I'd better send two." When third brother woke up from his nap, he found himself surrounded by two armies. "By the command of the celestial emperor," whose face is more dazzling than the rising sun, "you are to be executed in the morning," proclaimed the generals of the two armies. "Take the prisoner to the palace of the emperor," they ordered. When he heard this, third brother burst into tears. Well, I know that brother 1 and 2 have excellent sight and hearing, so I bet they're going to see the situation and try to figure out something to help him. Maybe they'll all work together to try to break him out. 100 miles away on the beautiful hillside, first brother heard third brother crying. "Third brother must be in trouble," he exclaimed. "Second brother, look far into the distance. Ah, third brother has been taken to the palace. He's surrounded by two armies. They are going to execute him in the morning. No wonder he's crying." "Don't worry," cried fourth brother, who saw that seventh brother was about to cry too. "I will change places with him. The celestial emperor, whose face is more dazzling than the rising sun, can try to cut off my head as many times as he likes. Perhaps that'll make him feel better." Off he went as quickly as he could, and got there in half a minute, less than no time. He sneaked into between the two armies to the third brother, who was wide awake and waiting for him. So third brother went home, and fourth brother took his place. So the first brothers heard him, but they're not going to try to help him escape. Well, kind of, I guess. That they're just going to change places with him. I bet the emperor figures this out, because he seems like he's a pretty smart emperor. Let's see what we find out. All the next day, the officers of the two armies tried over and over again to behead fourth brother. But sword after sword bent and broke on his bones of iron. In the end, they were forced to confess to the mighty emperor, whose whisper was like the rumble of thunder, that they simply could not behead their prisoner. "A man with bones of iron?" roared the mighty emperor. "Drown him in the deep sea! Tomorrow!" So it looks like the emperor didn't figure out that they switched places like I had thought. So let's see what happens next. When fourth brother heard this, heard that he was going to be drowned, he became very upset. Bones of iron won't bend, buckle, or break, but they will sink, he thought to himself, and he burst into tears. Well, judging by what's happened in the story already, I predict that the brothers are going to do something similar, maybe switch places with this brother to try to help him out of this situation. 100 miles away on a bright, beautiful hillside, first brother heard fourth brother begin to cry. Fourth brother is crying, he said. Second brother looked into the distance, far beyond the hills, and said, "Ah, ya, tomorrow morning they are going to drown fourth brother. No wonder he is crying." "Don't worry," said fifth brother. "I will change places with him. The mighty emperor, whose whisper is like the rumble of thunder, can try to drown me as many times as he likes. Perhaps that'll make him feel better." Off he went as quickly as he could, and got there in half a minute, less than no time. He tiptoed past the guards to fourth brother, who was awake and waiting for him. Swiftly they switched places, and fourth brother went home. The noble emperor, whose slightest frown made the land shake like an earthquake, was furious. "Send the royal archers," he ordered. "In the morning we will shoot this man full of arrows." Sixth brother burst into tears. Over on the beautiful hillside, first brother heard sixth brother crying. Second brother, he asked, "What do you see?" "Ay-ya," cried second brother. "Tomorrow morning they're going to shoot sixth brother full of arrows." The brothers looked at each other. "There is nothing for it," said the first brother. "We cannot leave sixth brother to die alone. We will all go to the noble emperor, whose slightest frown makes the land shake like an earthquake. He can shoot arrows through all of us. At least we'll be together." So I guess I wasn't right. They're not going to send the brother who has the strong bones to there. The brothers started their journey to the palace, but poor seventh brother was so upset that he couldn't help crying just a little. His first tear was as big as the longest river in China, rolled into a single drop. His second tear was about as big as the second longest river. Both tears were salty as the sea. The great ocean of warm salt water swept down the roads ahead of the brothers. It swept on for 100 miles. Well, I think these tears are going to play a big part. I bet they're somehow going to wash away everyone except maybe not the sixth brother that they're trying to save. Seventh brother's first tear swept one army north, and his second tear swept the other army south. So I was right in that prediction. That got rid of all the army and the guys guarding their sixth brother. As for the emperor, he was tossed so high and far that he is still trying to return to his palace. Seventh brother's flood of tears swept over the Great Wall of China, flowed all the way out to the Yellow Sea, and all the way back again in half a minute, less than no time. Sixth brother was free. He hurried back up the road while his 6 wonderful brothers hurried down the road. They were all reunited at the Great Wall. "Fish!" cried fifth brother. The waves had washed hundreds of glistening fish ashore. There they were, flipping and flapping, piled all the way up to his knees. "Wood!" cried third brother, gathering a force to start a fire. Fourth brother snapped his iron fingers and his iron thumb. A spark leaped out and set a fire blazing and crackling. "Fire!" he cried, laughing. "Oh, I'm so hungry," said seventh brother. "Now that we are all together again, we can have dinner and forget about our troubles. I promise I will never cry again, unless I absolutely must." So the 7 Chinese brothers sat themselves down around the warm fire and feasted on delicious fried fish. For after such a worrying week, they were all very, very hungry. So as you can see, while I read the story, I made predictions before I read and while I read. And I also made sure to take time to confirm my predictions. Sometimes I was way off. Other times I was kind of right. And I think maybe just once I was exactly right. But that's okay, because that's all a part of predicting. Back to you, Miss Pruxma. Thank you, Miss Pruxma. And that's it, kids. Next week we're starting the reading month with the Chinese New Year, so we hope that this story that Miss Pruxma just read to you will help jumpstart you into that exciting month.